Peter.
Welcome to the thrilling world of Security Squawk, where we explore cybersecurity. Guiding you through online threats, we'll aid you in understanding safety protocols and trends. Meet our gurus, Brian from Exact IT, Reginald from Arc Solvers, and Randy from Tech Rescue. Together, we'll delve into current events and hot cybersecurity topics, helping you comprehend their impact. Stay informed, stay secure. Security Squawk, the business of cybersecurity. Buckle up, let's dive in.
I don't know what that was, but hey everyone, welcome to the Security Squawk. I'm Brian Horning, CEO of Exact IT Solutions, and here with me in the bunker today are Randy Bryan of Tech Rescue and Reginald Andre at Arc Solvers. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good morning. Good morning. It looks
Hey,
like
how's it going?
we survived another Cloudflare outage.
I saw a meme or whatever, and it basically was like all these big buildings and piled on top of one another, and then like a little matchstick at the bottom of the big pile. It was like a Jenga block thing, if you can think of that. And they were like Cloudflares, like the two little matchsticks at the bottom. And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh man, if people really knew how fragile it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So get my show notes up here. We dive into a bunch of cybersecurity stories today that matter to business owners, MSPs, IT professionals who don't want to get blindsided. And we got three big stories today. A new breach at a major delivery platform, a hardware vendor, not hardware store vendor, but a hardware vendor, meaning like firewalls and switches and networking equipment, getting hit by a sophisticated zero-day campaign, and a state attorney general's office taken down by ransomware. So there's going to be no fluff, no hype today. We've got a lot to get through. We're actually recording 2 shows this week because of the holiday next week. We're just going to bring you what you need to know, how this stuff happened, what it means, and how you should respond in your own business and life. So let's get into it. Randy, you're going to start us off today with this story, which is imagine your lunch imagine you order your lunch, right? From like a DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever, track your driver, everything's smooth. Now imagine that same service gets breached and your contact details, your phone number, your address, maybe everything you ordered are suddenly at risk. That's exactly what happened with this particular company. Fill us in, Randy.
I think, aren't you doing this segment, Andre? I thought I was doing the.
We're gonna have to talk to his agent, Andre.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Brian. So DoorDash was hit by a data breach in October, exposing user information. So they have announced, when was this? Just in the last couple of days. Yeah, within the last week, they've announced that they had personal information stolen on October 25th is when they discovered it. First and last name, physical address, phone number, and email address. And this is a company. So DoorDash serves millions of customers across US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And they've already sent out a notification letting people know what happened. Letting people know that they're trying to fix it, and letting people know that their information has been breached. So they've had a data breach before, back in 2019. They had another one which was related to Twilio back in August of 2022. And this is just something, you know, when this information gets leaked, first and last name, physical address. So you know this is a verified first and last name, verified physical address. That's going to be used in AI scams, things like that, where the bad guys use that information that they have to be able to get into people's systems and stuff like that. It looks like it took them about 19 days to get it noticed. So pretty big deal, pretty big company, and it's something to keep our eye on.
And did it say exactly how it happened?
I'm not sure about that question.
Okay.
So
I know how it happened.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
So first off, this is Randy. You're right. This is the third major breach that this company's had since 2019. So if you're a customer or a dasher or somebody who sells through DoorDash, meaning you're a merchant, a person who probably owns a restaurant or some kind of pizza shop, sandwich shop, whatever, all your data is potentially at risk here. That's thing one. You mentioned a Twilio attack before. It's social engineering. Of course, it does it again to DoorDash. Obviously, social engineering is one of the most dangerous threats out there. Even well-resourced companies are failing at the human layer. And, these major brands with a lot of security horsepower still get hit this hard, so can everyone else out there. That's the story. So they were tricked by a social engineering scam for a DoorDash employee. And essentially their account was able to be taken over by somebody who called in and talked to them, and they were able to get enough information and then log into the system as them and steal this information from their database.
Yeah. So this just to show you, I mean, Positive DoorDash spends millions of dollars on cybersecurity, but if you don't have that in the culture of your business and your organization, doing the trainings, doing everything you have to do to make sure things like this doesn't happen, you can spend all the money you want. As we can see, just takes that one person to select the bad guy in.
Yep. The bigger problem here for DoorDash is they took 19 days to disclose the breach, so they're gonna pay the price for that long of a response. And that's going to be a real problem for them as we talk about these class action lawsuits that come about and things like that. Definitely going to be coming. There's probably already Facebook ads being run by some, lawyer out there who wants to try to make a buck off of this data breach. So, they're going to target anyone that, they can find on Facebook or any of social media platforms. It's not hard for these platforms to figure out that you might drive for DoorDash, right? You probably have that driver app on your phone, right? You have DoorDash on your phone. These are things that Facebook and TikTok can collect information about you, and then when somebody like a lawyer who wants to target DoorDashers or people that have used DoorDash in the last 2 months, boom. You know what I mean? They can run ads to you and right into your device, you're going to be seeing things about, a DoorDash data breach, right? I see them all the time now for different data breaches in my Facebook feed, right? And that probably started in the last 3 or 4 months. So, these data breaches are becoming a real these class action lawsuits are becoming a real problem for businesses years after these breaches. So.
Yeah, and with DoorDash having it, apparently looks like every 3 years is their trend. So also, I feel really sorry for the end user because they're going to start getting those food delivery scams and text messages saying, your driver's lost or here your food has been canceled or whatever. And naturally, you're going to go in because I think a lot of times people, like even Amazon and UPS, especially if I haven't ordered something, I'm starting to get used to it. But now for DoorDash, I think, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, I didn't order food this time. What's this about? And then it tricks them into, logging into a fake Microsoft 365 or Gmail. And that's how they continue the cycle.
Yep. In their response email that went out, they said no sensitive information was leaked. But that first and last name, physical address, phone number, I mean, that's all sensitive information that can be used. So a lot of people online are upset about that over, their customers of these guys. And, to get an email that says no sensitive data was leaked, just your home address. Do you know what I mean? Like there's probably famous people that are in there, we don't know yet, but I'm sure there are. And that'll just be a matter of time before people figure that out,
We're famous.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've used DoorDash or not.
At the end of the day, it gets really scary when the company who gets hacked gets to kind of define what sensitive data actually is, right? And in this case, you do have to ask. In every case, I guess, is what is sensitive data, right? Because in this case, they're only considering payment or social security numbers as sensitive data, and other people probably disagree with that, right? So we'll see where this all plays out, because eventually the victims of this who end up being in the data sets, and the courts will decide how serious this data was, and how much they have to pay in the end will determine how serious it was at the end of the day. So to be determined. We will find out, and we will find out how DoorDash is held accountable for what happened here. So it's a real shame, though, that these companies this big keep getting hacked. Andre, you always like to point out the numbers. We know DoorDash is a publicly traded company. They have a lot of resources. We're going to dive into our podcast next week. We're going to dive into an event that occurred that I want to cover, where essentially they did have a lot of things in place and it went unnoticed. So it's very interesting as to what's happening out there. So ready to switch gears?
Yes, sir.
All right. So talking about the hardware aisle, as I mentioned earlier in the top of the show, it's not lumber that we're talking about, or it's not doors and windows. We're talking about, the stuff, the kind of hardware that you click, right, and plug in. That is also hardware in the computing world. So your mouse, your keyboard, your computer itself, right? That is all hardware, right? And the thing that the stuff that runs on that is called software. So what happens when your keyboard maker gets breached? It's not just ordinary phishing, but it's zero-day exploit, massive data theft, and extortion style. And that's the case here with Logitech. Andre's going to cover it. What's going on here?
Yeah, so I got my Logitech keyboard right here and wireless mouse. And
I got mine too, Logi.
Yeah, Logi is there. Randy has
a their name because they got hacked.
Yeah. So in this case, though, we're talking about Logitech, but it wasn't their fault. We have a third-party platform, Oracle e-business suite. So that
e-business suite again. Dang.
Yeah. So this is specifically Clop ransomware. So for those of you that don't know, big enterprises, they're not necessarily using like QuickBooks for their everyday bookkeeping and stuff like that. They go to big companies like Oracle that can help with the payroll system, CRM platforms, file sharing, kind of just like an all-in-one specific to their industry. And unfortunately, if Oracle gets hacked, you get hacked. And in this case, we're talking about Logitech, but really it was a 0-day with Oracle. And unfortunately, it was a 0-day, which means that, by the time it was detected, but there wasn't a patch for it. And according to the article, as soon as there was an available patch, Logitech did what it had to do, but unfortunately, it was too late. 1.8 terabytes of files of Logitech's information were posted on an extortion site, and they said pay up. And they said, just going back, logistics, inventory, name numbers, and all of the other PII information, contracts, invoices, vendor records. So a lot of that was now out in the public. And now we're going to see what happens. But again, just going to the theme of this week's show is all about data breaches. So know who your vendors are. Pay attention if they have what they call updates or patches. Make sure that you do them. Make sure that you have a relationship with them, because if not, something like this can happen.
Randy?
Well, it just goes to show, like, we say it every dang week, and this is what I was thinking about, is you can do everything in the world to like protect yourself, but then some vendor has something, and that vendor something doesn't get patched, and then boom, your whole company is at risk. So this is just another case of that. Apparently Logitech patched it the second that it came out. or the minute that it came out or whatever. They said they patched it right away. But Clop was already in there. So anyway, vendors, another place of vulnerability we need to always keep our eye on.
Yeah. And I'm sure now there's probably even a battle of who pays, who's responsible, because is it Logitech obviously is the one who's getting the hit and the damage, but now will Logitech now go sue Oracle, or, is there fine print and all of that stuff? And that's going to be years of litigation.
Scary. I mean, keyboards basically, unless you're talking to your computer or talking to AI, keyboards basically pass through everything, right? Mm-hmm. That's happening on your computer. So, you think like cheap keyboard maker, right? And at the end of the day, like, it could be the thing that takes down your whole entire company if there's something going on with that keyboard set or something like that. So, not related to what's going on here, but it's just scary that these hardware manufacturers could become, a big risk in your business if you're not careful, right? We always joke about the cheap stuff on Amazon and stuff like that, right, being kind of like sending things off to the homeland and stuff like that, right? It's not going to be a joke one day. It's going to be something where people are going to find out that these things do happen, and you have to be mindful of it, right?
Stop buying your cheap. Oh, sorry.
I say, any recommendations, Randy, around that?
Oh, actually, I have one. Stop buying the cheap stuff on Temu.
There you go.
your keyboard, wireless mouse and keyboard for $4.99 with the batteries.
Probably cheaper than that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, probably at 99 cents.
No doubt. So I'm going to move on here with the government itself getting hit in my state, or at least where I was born, in the state across from where I live now, in the state of New Jersey. It was over in the state of Pennsylvania, in the Office of the Attorney General. Yep, that's the police that had the top notch, the police over in the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, as I should appropriately term it. Now they're a target. Ransomware attack knocked out their systems. Data is more than likely exfiltrated. And what does this mean as we keep seeing these public sectors get nailed and the trust just go down? I mean, people either just, I don't know, guys, we could talk about it here. I'm going to let you know what happened, but I really want to get into, like, do people even care that their government is being hacked like this? And it's exposing a lot of different things, not only their data, but I mean, think about what the Attorney General of Pennsylvania's office has in its files.
Right.
Here we go again. So on August 11th, guys, in 2025, the Office of Attorney Generals in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania systems were hit. It took out their email, their phones, and their websites. The attacker encrypted files and demanded a ransom. The office publicly says it did not pay. The attackers have claimed that they have stolen almost 6 terabytes of data, 5.7 to be exact. And the Office of Attorney General says certain files may have been accessed that contain personal, social, and medical information. If a government body with heavy protections gets hit, it puts everybody and every business on notice. Your vendors, your supply chain, your own practice itself, wherever you work, can be a victim. So where are we at with this? Like, this is another public, like, we've seen this play out before. We saw it in the city of Baltimore. We saw it in DC, where criminal investigations are uncovered as a result of these breaches, right? People who are currently under investigation for serious crimes are now going to have their information exposed to a third party, and these third parties use that information to then continue to extort people and do bad things to them. You can go to the criminals and you can tell them kind of what's in their case file and what the government has against them. You can blow the lid off a lot of things, and you can change the trajectory of a lot of things, And these cyber criminals know this. They've done this. I'm not just saying like this could happen. We've seen this happen.
Yeah. And this is one of the cases talking about what's sensitive. In this case, social security numbers isn't even the most sensitive thing in here.
No.
However, this happened because it was gross negligence. This could have been prevented because specifically it was the Citrix Bleed 2, and there was emergency warnings about getting this updated. And unfortunately, whoever's in charge of their systems did not do it, but this could have been prevented.
Yes, and also, I just want to my concern here, Brian. I was shaking my head while you were reading this and looking at the picture of the guy giving the press conference and all that. Is we really need to hold government accountable. It can't just be, oh, we got hacked. So sorry, so sad, too bad. And I'm not saying like that people got to go to jail or don't have to go to jail. I'm not really saying it like that. But I'm just saying, like, government deals with some of the most private of all of our information and some of the most sensitive issues, the most sensitive things that relate to us. And I really just want to hope that we can hold government accountable to be cyber secure. The other day we were kind of laughing, me and some other guys were kind of laughing about the whole Chinese firewall, that they did a firewall back in the late 90s or whatever. And we thought, oh, that's just horrible, authoritarian stuff. Well, now, like, all of a sudden, wow, it's protecting them from things as well, and I'm not in any way wanting our government to become more authoritarian, but definitely want our government to do better and to do a better job with cybersecurity. Because there's a lot of sensitive stuff that can get leaked when they get hacked.
Yeah, but if there's no accountability, it's not going to happen. Firewall, no firewall.
Yeah, I mean, not only is this particular piece of government that got hit here responsible for bringing justice, but they're also there to protect the victims, right? So. And they're protecting victims of domestic violence. There's minors who they're supposed to be protecting, the medical and legal intersections that happen with these criminal investigations when they need to pull medical files and things like that as evidence, and just notes and things like that from social workers and people who are involved in helping victims, is all out there. And these victims, unfortunately, have to go through all this again, knowing that, like, who has my information? Who knows what's going on about me? Like, that's a big unknown. And unfortunately, that's just more trauma for the people who are already victims when these kinds of things happen. And again, it should be well funded. This organization should be well funded when it comes to cybersecurity. We don't know what the real case is. We don't know if they actually spent the money on what they should have or they skimped on things. But the truth of the matter is like they could have been cybersecurity up to the gills, or they could have been skipping corners. It doesn't really matter. These things can happen, right? And in this case, as Andre pointed out, they didn't patch a system. So to me, that tells me that they might have bought those fancy tools, but they didn't have the processes in place to make sure that these things happened in a timely manner, so something like this doesn't occur.
Yeah. So if you're in Pennsylvania and you use Logitech and you happen to get
DoorDash, you could be anywhere, and the Pennsylvania could be investigating you. I mean, if Randy could have done something and sent it to Pennsylvania, and they could be investigating him in Texas, right?
Right. No, I'm putting all our articles together. Like if you're Pennsylvania, DoorDash, and Logitech, you're pretty much, your data's out there.
Yeah, 100%. So, all right, that's it for this week. That's our deep dive into some of the things that were happening out there around cybersecurity, who got hit, how they got hit, why. and how you can start protecting yourself a little bit better. So we talked about this contact data breaches at consumer delivery platforms like DoorDash. We covered that 0 day at a hardware manufacturer, how that had implications and ripple effects across industries. And then a major government office taken offline and massive 6 terabytes of data stolen. Clearly, the threat spectrum is just broad based on today's show, and it's escalating. And these criminals are getting better and better at what they're doing, and they're figuring out all kinds of different ways to make money off organizations who aren't prepared, well above and beyond ransomware. So take these stories, turn them into lessons, learn to do better. Learn to protect yourself. If you found this episode useful, hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, share a link with your fellow MSPs, IT pros, coworkers, friends, family. It helps more than you think. And if you want to support us directly, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Security Squawk. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Brian here with Andre and Randy. We will catch you next week on next episode of Security Squawk.
Take care.